Hello, everybody. Thursday, August 4th, 2022, and this is 413 Sports Talk, episode 409 to be exact. I hope all is well with you and yours, and we thank you once again for your continued support of this show. Today, I want to give you my takeaways from NFL training camps. I picked 5 camps that weren't that likely to pull off a playoff caliber squad this season, and spotlighted the passers. Okay, there's an exception for like one here or there that might slip into playoffs. So we are going to discuss those 5 unique situations and what it all means going forward. MLB scores and WNBA action from last night. Episode 409 starts right now. First, we're going to start with the NCAA coverage of the passers, as we always do. Today we want to talk about Devin Leary of NC State. Here we go with him. The New Jersey kid had one of the best high school resumes coming into decision time when guys would announce their commitments. Timber Creek Regional High School is where Devin set the single season record for yards, 3,688, and touchdowns at 48. And when he graduated, the state record for passing yards was his at 9,672, and touchdowns with 117. Consecutively named the New Jersey Gatorade Football Player of the Year. He opened the season as a backup before getting the starting nod for the final 5 games of the year at NC State. He went 101 of 210, 1,219 yards, 8 touchdowns, 5 picks. 2020, as a sophomore, he played in 4 games before suffering a broken fibula. Ouch. Those 4 games saw him go 66 for $110, 890 yards, 8 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He entered the 2021 season as starter and really impressed the masses with his masterful play, having benefited from Ikem Ekwonu, the first-round offensive tackle of the Carolina Panthers. The offensive line played pretty good last year, I thought, collectively, through and through. But anyways, his numbers jumped to 283 for 431, 3,433 yards, 35 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And here he is getting ready for another season. I see him entering the 2023 NFL Draft as maybe the second or third quarterback coming out. That all depends on what a bunch of the passers do as far as decision making is concerned, with where they're going to go to school, when they're going to leave the draft, or not school, when they're going to leave the draft, and depending on where they could or could not get picked, who knows. Anyway, that's it for NCAA. Let's talk football. Ra's takeaways. This is called the Northeast edition. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz, Zach Wilson, and Daniel Jones. Let's see what we talk about today. I'm providing training camp insight on Lamar Jackson of the Ravens, Carson Wentz of the Commanders, Jalen Hurts of the Eagles, and more. Raheem's training camp tour is what we're going to call it. That's at the Northeast leg of the journey and has led to some notable observations on a handful of young quarterbacks. Through the writers, through what I'm going to give you, I hope that it gives you a good insight in what's going on up here. Anyway, and I know this isn't really anything. Like glaring or new, whatever. This is my take on some camps up there. Anyway, let's talk about Lamar Jackson as he looks ready to prove doubters wrong. And I quote, "Of the 5 starting quarterbacks on the tour, Jackson was the most impressive performer. While national pundits and anonymous sources have doubted his passing ability, Jackson's performance on the first day of training camp, Wednesday, July 27th, 2 days after my birthday, was a masterclass in deep ball efficiency. Jackson looked accurate throwing the ball down the field in individual drills and made a few stellar throws and team drills as well. Jackson looks noticeably more muscular and showed off his new physique by rolling up his sleeves during the workout, trying to get tough on motherfuckers. Despite having open contract negotiations, Jackson looked zoned in during practice, and his chemistry with Devin Duvernay is worth monitoring from both fantasy and reality purposes. So, pretty good observations on Lamar Jackson so far, I would say. While the jury is out on the potential number one wideout, Rashad Bateman, the receiver, and Jackson showed awesome chemistry on day one as well. Jackson as well quick to prove his doubters wrong, especially if his chemistry continues to build with Bateman and Duvernay. And the Ravens need to pay him as soon as possible. That's it for Lamar. Let's talk Carson Wentz. He needs to find his footing in Washington. As a former high school quarterback who's watched Wentz for 3 years in Philadelphia, I wasn't expecting him to light up practice on day 2 of the Commanders camp. Wentz wasn't a stellar practice player. I've covered him from his knee surgery during the 2017 season on. So it was unsurprising to see him struggle mightily in Ashburn, Virginia last Thursday, on the 28th. While the Commanders' quarterbacks were relatively efficient during individual work with their receivers and tight ends, they're a collective mess in team drills. Wentz had a trio of throws to nowhere during 11-on-11 work. He also missed a few receivers high during very competitive reps. And to be fair to Wentz, the Washington defense was sensational during the day of work, and there are quite a few pass breakups as well. It's important to note, I think, that during the first week of camp, the defense will typically outperform the offense. That trope wasn't even correct for the Commanders, Eagles, and Jets last week. So this wasn't completely a Carson Wentz issue, I will say. Carson is learning the third new offense in as many years. And while Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson are probably the best wideout duo he's had during his career, it'll still take time to find the chemistry. In a positive sign, Wentz battled back from his early blunders and made an epic 30-yard strike downfield to Dotson, which looked absolutely effortless. In Philly, Wentz had a habit of struggling for a chunk of practice before making a throw that maybe 8 to 10 quarterbacks can make in the NFL. And that's the allure of Carson Wentz. He's incredibly gifted physically, but the question, at least since 2018, is can he put it all together mentally? Head coach Ron Rivera believes Wentz is processing the offense well. The issue for Wentz will be putting his hero ball tendencies in check when the game is on the line. Again, Wentz isn't a top-tier practice performer, and he has plenty of time to find his groove with his intriguing weapons at wide receiver. Accuracy is still a concern for Jalen Hurts and Zach Wilson. Eagles on the 29th, Jets on the July 30th. I shouldn't have been really working that day, but that was a mirror day. Again, happy birthday to my baby girl. She turned 12, and we will be going over that team in that order that I said. Yeah. While Wilson has a much more talented arm than Hurts, both continue to struggle with accuracy and efficiency during my views of these teams. Both quarterbacks went through stretches of the off-the-mark throws or for uneven days. On uneven days. Hurts and Eagles offense felt listless overall on Friday. Hurts got rid of the ball late on a few throws, and his weapons didn't bail him out. The third-year quarterback looked accurate, especially down the field. Sorry. But during my visit to the Eagles, it kind of looked like it was going to come together then, but Friday's performance left a lot to be desired. Just about everybody wondering what was going on over there. Hurts underthrew a few balls, including one that was matched with a poor decision, which led to a pick by nickel corner Avonte Maddox. Hurts just didn't seem to find his groove throughout the day. Again, as we mentioned with Wentz, this is a common issue early in camp for offensive players, mainly because they are asked to do several new things while the defense is simply reacting with their scheme. Hurts has constantly faced questions about his arm strength and accuracy. Both issues seemingly stem from his throwing motion, which was worked on during the summer. Hurts has always come off as a gamer, so it'll be interesting to see how he performs when the pads come on this week. Wilson's accuracy was all over the place during Saturday visit. Wilson looks bigger and confidence in the pocket has seemingly improved as his vision. He also looked more accurate throwing to the flat than he did last season, but his wide range accuracy still looked inconsistent. And again, these are my breakdowns of these two teams. Wilson is obviously only on his second camp, and he's playing with a lot of rookies and second-year players, so everyone is experiencing growing pains on offense. Wilson and his weapons have plenty of time to grow together this summer, though. While he did have some poor throws and picked off while staring down Elijah Moore in the end zone during red zone drills, Wilson's body language improved, physique, and more efficient short yardage output on positive signs, even if this was a limited viewing that I had. While it's easy to look at the negatives of a young quarterback in camp, it's important to note the intangible growth of Wilson and Hurts, respectively. Wilson seems more comfortable with the Jets' offense, while Hurts seems to have improved chemistry with tight ends Dallas Goedert and wideouts Quez Watkins and Devonta Smith. Both Wilson and Hurts are going to need time to get used to their new top weapons, Garrett Wilson and A.J. Brown, respectively. Those field relationships can be developed throughout the summer. There's no need to panic on Wilson or Hurts at this point. And finally, Daniel Jones and Kenny Golladay need to find each other. The most glaring takeaway from Monday's Giants practice was the lack of chemistry between Daniel Jones and wide receiver Kenny Golladay. The pair struggled to create big plays during the first season together, and on Monday they failed to connect on two would-be big plays as well. We don't want the Giants to be continuing that stretch. Golladay struggled with drops during his first week of camp, and Jones had issues connecting with his other weapons during the first fully padded practice. This isn't a Jones-Golladay problem, but after a year, it clearly isn't a connection. Golladay was paid and billed like a number one wideout last offseason, but he managed just 521 scoreless yards last season on 14 games. Golladay and Jones are both facing a make-or-break year under new management. They need to each other to succeed, and they'll both be elsewhere next season. There's plenty of training camp left to find a groove, but Jones and Golladay need to connect soon or risk the consequences of another shared disappointing season. And that is it for the NFL. Please let me know how we did in the comment section with this specific section today. Now on to the scores. MLB. Houston over Boston 6-1. Tampa Bay over Toronto 3-2. Philly over Atlanta 3-1. Seattle over the Yankees 7-3. Cleveland over Arizona 7-4. Minnesota over Detroit 4-1. Baltimore over Texas 6-3. Chicago White Sox over Kansas City 4-2. Mets over the Nats 9-5. Miami over Cincy 3-zip. Pittsburgh over Milwaukee 8-7. Oakland over the Angels 3-1. San Diego over Colorado 9-1. The Dodgers over San Francisco 3-zip. And Chicago Cubs at the St. Louis Cardinals was postponed. Doubleheaders scheduled for later today, though. On to WNBA. Excuse me. Atlanta over Indy, 91-81. New York over Los Angeles, 64-61. Seattle over Minnesota, 89-77. And that is it for the scores. So WNBA tomorrow night includes Phoenix at Connecticut for 7 p.m. and Las Vegas at Dallas for 8. That's it for episode 409 of 413 Sports Talk. I am your host, Raheem Escalay. Love you all. Wish you nothing but health, wealth, and success. And thank you very much for your continued support of the show. We shall see you tomorrow.